In the shadowy town of Blackthorn, where the streets whispered secrets of the past, the Watts family reigned as the pillars of the community, a picture-perfect facade of affluence and tranquility that belied the dark undercurrents swirling beneath. The sun had barely dipped below the horizon as the family gathered for dinner in their grand, ivy-covered mansion, the scent of home-cooked meals mingling with the distant hum of the city. Mrs. Watts, a woman known for her impeccable taste and even temperament, sat at the head of the table, her husband, a successful lawyer, beside her. Their children, 3 beautiful daughters and a son, filled the seats around them, their laughter and chatter the soundtrack of a perfect evening. Yet, as the meal progressed, a sense of unease began to settle over the room, a subtle shift in the air that no one could quite place. It was in this tense atmosphere that a commotion erupted from the front door, the sound of shattering glass and breaking wood echoing through the mansion, shattering the illusion of the Watts' idyllic life. The family gasped, their dinner untouched, as they watched in horror as the doors swung open, revealing a scene of chaos and terror that would change their lives forever. A figure emerged, cloaked in darkness and driven by a fury that seemed to burn even in the dim light of the evening, and with a single, cruel motion, he shattered the tranquility of the Watts household, unraveling the tapestry of their lives into a shroud of sorrow and mystery. In the shadowy streets of a sprawling metropolis, where the neon lights of the city seemed to mock the darkness that lurked beneath, the Watts family resided in a modest yet cozy bungalow that stood as a beacon of normalcy amidst the urban chaos. The family, consisting of the stoic patriarch John Watts, his gentle wife Emily, and their 3 children, teenage twins Sarah and Thomas, and their youngest, young Emily, led a seemingly uneventful life, their days filled with the mundane routines of work, school, and family meals. However, the tranquility of their existence was about to shatter as a series of inexplicable events began to unfold, each more chilling than the last. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the city streets began to hum with the sounds of nightlife, a sudden commotion outside the Watts' home jolted the family from their evening meal. The front door burst open, and a tall, menacing figure clad in a dark trench coat barreled into the living room, his eyes wild with a mix of fear and rage. The air was thick with the scent of smoke, and the figure's hands were stained with a crimson that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. "You must come with me," he hissed, his voice a low, dangerous whisper that sent shivers down the spines of the Watts family members, each of them frozen in place, their hearts pounding in their chests like drums. As the figure turned and vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of fear and a sense of impending doom, the Watts family knew that their lives would never be the same. Little did they realize that the first of many dark secrets would soon emerge, leading them down a treacherous path filled with danger, betrayal, and the chilling realization that the killer was among them, a silent specter who would stop at nothing to maintain his sinister grip on the family's lives. In the heart of a sun-drenched California valley, where the air shimmered with the promise of endless summer, the Watts family had always been known for their warmth and laughter. The old stone house, nestled among towering oaks, was a sanctuary for 6 siblings and their parents, who had built a life of toil and joy in the shadow of the towering skyscrapers. But on a night as ordinary as the rest, when the stars above seemed to hold their breath, a shattering silence fell upon the Watts family, forever altering the course of their lives. It was a night that would become etched into the annals of local legend, a night when the creaking floorboards whispered tales of horror, and the once vibrant home turned into a macabre canvas of tragedy. As dawn broke, the world would learn that the Watts family had met their end in a manner so senseless and cruel that even the most hardened hearts shuddered at the grim details. But what truly haunted the small town was the chilling silence that followed, a silence that spoke volumes about the unfathomable depths of human darkness. In the sleepy coastal town of Blackwater, the Watts family was as ordinary as they came, their days marked by the rhythmic crash of waves against the rocky shore and the warm glow of sunset over the glistening sea. But as the sun dipped below the horizon one moonless night, the tranquility of their seaside cottage was shattered by a scream that echoed through the night, a sound so primal and piercing it seemed to reach into the very soul of the town. The moonlight revealed the twisted figure of Mrs. Watts, her eyes wide with terror, clutching a knife that was smeared with crimson. The town was instantly thrown into chaos as the neighbors raced to the scene, their hearts pounding with fear and disbelief. Yet as they neared the cottage, the eerie silence that followed was even more chilling, the scent of blood mingling with the salty sea air, a sinister perfume that seemed to whisper tales of horror. The townspeople, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of the emergency lights, found themselves confronting a scene of unimaginable horror. The bodies of Mr. Watts and their 3 young children, each life extinguished in a violent and brutal manner, leaving behind only the haunting silence and the silent plea for answers that would shatter the innocence of Blackwater forever. In the heart of a bustling metropolis where the neon lights painted the night in a kaleidoscope of colors, the Watts family lived in a quaint, ivy-covered mansion that seemed to whisper secrets of old. The sun had set, casting a golden glow over the sprawling estate, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant hum of city life. Inside, the family gathered around a grand oak table, laughter and warmth filling the room as they shared stories of the day. Little did they know, their idyllic existence was about to shatter like glass under the weight of a darkening storm. As the clock struck midnight, a sudden silence fell over the house, and in the eerie quiet, the first shadowy figure crept through the dense underbrush surrounding the mansion. It was a night that would become etched into the annals of infamy, the Watts family murders, a chilling tale of betrayal, greed, and a city's darkest secrets. In the shadowy alleys of Victorian London, where gas lamps flickered against the encroaching dusk, the Watts family mansion loomed like a brooding specter. The grandiose estate, with its towering spires and sprawling gardens, had been a beacon of wealth and prosperity for generations, its residents esteemed and feared in equal measure. But as the clock struck midnight on a crisp autumn evening, a chilling silence descended upon the manor, shattering the family's serene facade. The air was thick with anticipation as a series of mysterious deaths began to unfold, each more macabre than the last. The first victim, a young servant girl, was found sprawled on the grand staircase, her eyes wide with terror, her throat sliced open as if by a razor-sharp blade. The authorities were baffled, their inquiries met with silence and suspicion from the Watts family. The mansion's iron gates, once symbols of protection, now seemed to seal away a dark secret that was slowly unraveling. As the story of the Watts family murders gripped the public's imagination, the line between the living and the dead blurred, and whispers of malevolent forces whispered through the night, suggesting that the true horror was yet to come. In the hushed twilight of a sleepy coastal town, the Watts family was ensnared in a shroud of tragedy as whispers of their names grew into a cacophony of dread. The quaint streets, once alive with the laughter of children and the hum of community life, now echoed with a somber hush, for the Watts residence had become a chilling beacon of sorrow. The once vibrant home, nestled among towering pines and the gentle lapping of the ocean waves, now stood as a silent sentinel to the unspeakable horror that unfolded within its walls. It was a warm summer evening, and the family was gathered around the dining room table, sharing stories and laughter, unaware that their lives were about to be irrevocably altered. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, and as the first star flickered into view, a sudden chilling silence fell upon the group. Without warning, the front door creaked open, and the eerie sound of footsteps echoed through the house, sending shivers down the spines of the unsuspecting family. The laughter ceased abruptly, replaced by a collective gasp as the door swung wide, revealing a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness. The eyes of the Watts family met those of the intruder, and in that moment, time seemed to stand still as the reality of their impending doom began to unfurl before them. In the shadowed alleys of a city where the night whispered secrets as old as time, the Watts family had always been a curious enigma, their lives a tapestry woven with threads of mystery and whispers of wealth. The mansion at the end of Maple Street, with its towering gates and ivy-clad walls, was a fortress that sheltered a family whose reputation was as ironclad as their steel-reinforced doors. The head of the Watts family, Elton Watts, was a man of formidable presence, a titan in the business world, his name synonymous with power and influence. His wife, Isabella, was a beauty whose elegance was matched only by her intellect, a woman who could charm and manipulate with a mere tilt of her head. Together, they had raised 4 children, each with a unique talent that seemed to echo the family's legacy of dominance. But as the moon hung low and the stars blinked above, a storm brewed, a tempest of tragedy that would shatter the Watts family's illusion of invincibility, and in its wake, leave behind a legacy of horror that would echo through the ages. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town, where the salty sea breeze whispered secrets of the ocean depths, the Watts family had always been known for their quiet, unassuming ways. The sun-kissed houses on the cliffside road stood as silent sentinels, their weathered facades a testament to the years that had passed by. Yet beneath the serene facade, a dark storm brewed, a tempest that would shatter the tranquil facade of the Watts family forever. It was a warm, balmy evening in August when the first whispers of dread began to ripple through the community, a chilling prelude to the nightmarish events that would unfold. The sky, a canvas of deepening twilight, was punctuated by the eerie glow of streetlights as they flickered to life, their soft hum a stark contrast to the growing unease that gripped the town. The Watts residence, a modest yet welcoming home, had been the heart of family life for decades, a sanctuary of laughter and love. But as the shadows lengthened, a shadowy figure emerged, a specter that would cast a dark shadow over the once peaceful household. The night was still young, the stars yet to claim their place in the heavens, when the Watts family's lives were irrevocably altered, their lives torn asunder by a horror that would echo through the ages, a horror that began with a single, chilling scream. In the shrouded alleys of a once prosperous neighborhood, the Watts family mansion loomed like a sinister specter, its once gleaming windows now etched with the shadows of its grim past. The air hung heavy with the scent of ivy, and the faint whispers of forgotten secrets as night descended upon the town. It was the year 1923, a time when the world seemed poised on the brink of change. Yet in this secluded pocket of decay, the whispers of the Watts family murders echoed through the creaking floorboards like a haunting melody. The townsfolk spoke of the wealthy family's sudden, unexplained demise, their tales intertwined with tales of unrequited love, greed, and the dark undercurrents that ran like a fault line beneath the facade of respectability. In the heart of the mansion, where the grand piano stood silent and the oil paintings of the departed eyes watched from the walls, Detective Clara Hayes stood determined to unravel the twisted tapestry of deceit and uncover the chilling truth behind the most baffling mystery of the century. As the clock struck midnight, casting long shadows through the dusty rooms, she knew that the truth lay just beyond the threshold, waiting to be discovered, and with it, the chilling legacy of the Watts family murders. In the quiet, sun-drenched town of Willowbrook, where the sweet scent of blooming jasmine filled the air and the laughter of children echoed through the streets, the Watts family lived a seemingly idyllic existence. The sun-kissed facade of their quaint, colonial home concealed a dark secret that would shatter the tranquility and leave an indelible scar on the community. The Wattses, a tight-knit family of 5, were revered by their neighbors, but beneath the surface, tension simmered like a pot on the brink of boiling over. It was during the warm, summer twilight of a Friday evening that everything changed, when a chilling silence descended upon the town, the kind that precedes a storm. Little did anyone know, the lives of the Watts family were about to be torn apart by a string of mysterious and harrowing events that would plunge Willowbrook into an abyss of fear and suspicion. In the shrouded dawn of a drizzly autumn morning, the Watts family residence lay in eerie silence, its once vibrant facade now cloaked in the somber grayness of mystery and dread. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a tangible presence that seemed to whisper secrets to anyone daring enough to draw near. The heavy, iron gates, once a symbol of prosperity and security, hung ajar, inviting a sense of unwelcome intrusion. Inside, the once cheery abode had become a macabre scene of desolation, with shattered windows revealing the stark contrast between the opulent interior and the chaotic aftermath of tragedy. The family, known for their generous philanthropy and social influence, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a labyrinth of clues that only seemed to deepen the enigma surrounding their sudden disappearance. As the townsfolk murmured among themselves, speculating about the fate of the Watts, a lone figure emerged from the shadows, eyes gleaming with a strange mixture of determination and dread, their presence as ominous as the cold, unyielding hand of fate that had descended upon this once idyllic home. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town nestled between the jagged cliffs and the relentless waves, the Watts family had always been a beacon of tranquility, their sprawling estate a sanctuary from the world's chaos. The sun had barely dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the sea, when the eerie silence was shattered by the sound of shattering glass and the piercing screams of Mrs. Watts, her voice echoing through the night as if it were a siren's call. The town's sleepy residents, accustomed to the gentle lullaby of the ocean, were jarred from their slumber by the cacophony, and as they stumbled out into the darkness, they were greeted by a scene of horror that defied the calm facade of the Watts' idyllic existence. The once serene garden was now a blood-soaked battlefield, with the bodies of the Watts family strewn about, their faces twisted in terror and disbelief. The air was thick with the scent of death, a stench that seemed to seep into the very fabric of the night, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who witnessed the Chinese letter. Detective Clara Hayes, with her sharp eyes and relentless determination, arrived on the scene just as the first rays of dawn began to creep over the horizon, and it was there, amidst the chaos and despair, that she vowed to uncover the truth behind the Watts family murders, a quest that would unravel a tapestry of secrets and lies, leading her down a treacherous path where the line between the living and the dead blurred into a hauntingly indistinguishable shadow. In the heart of a quaint coastal town, nestled between rolling hills and the churning waves of the Atlantic, the Watts family had been a beacon of warmth and community spirit for generations. The cobblestone streets echoed with laughter from the children, and the creak of the old oak doors signaled the arrival of yet another evening filled with hearty meals and endless tales. But as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the tranquil waters, a shadow began to cast its ominous presence over the once peaceful Watts household. The townsfolk whispered of strange occurrences, of ghostly apparitions seen lurking in the shadows, and of an ancient curse whispered through the ages. It was not until the night of the full moon that the true horror unfurled, when the lives of the Watts family were irrevocably altered, and the town of Willowbrook would never be the same. The silence of the night was shattered by a series of chilling screams that pierced the air like a knife, and as the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, the town would awaken to a scene of unimaginable horror, where the lives of the Watts family had been snuffed out like candles in the wind, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a haunting legacy that would forever stain the souls of those who dared to uncover the truth. In the shadowy alleys of a sleepy coastal town, nestled between the crashing waves of the Atlantic Ocean and the towering cliffs, the Watts family lived a life that was as ordinary as the salt-kissed air that enveloped their quaint home. The Wattses were a close-knit family, known for their warm smiles and generous hearts, but beneath the facade of domestic bliss, a storm brewed that would forever change the fabric of their lives. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the town, the tranquility was shattered by a series of chilling screams that echoed through the streets, a sound so haunting it seemed to pierce the very soul of the community. The townsfolk, accustomed to the gentle lull of the sea and the soft rustle of the leaves, were left in a state of shock as they gathered outside the Watts' modest abode, their eyes wide with horror and disbelief. Little did they know that the night's tragic events would unravel a web of secrets, deceit, and betrayal that would bind them all in ways they could never have imagined. A tale of murder and mystery that would become the stuff of local legend and the catalyst for a gripping and chilling investigation. In the shadowed hollows of a desolate town, where the whispering winds carried tales of old, the Watts family had always been a beacon of tranquility, their sprawling estate a fortress of laughter and love. But as the twilight's final breath seeped into the night, a chilling silence descended upon the once idyllic abode, shattering the illusion of safety. The air was thick with the scent of rain, yet the sky remained a resolute canopy of stars, mocking the sudden deluge that would soon drench the earth. Inside, the family gathered around the hearth, unaware of the darkness that loomed just beyond the windows. The matriarch, Eliza Watts, a woman of strength and grace, her eyes twinkling with the warmth of her grandchildren, felt a strange unease that she couldn't shake off. It was as if the very fabric of their lives had been torn, leaving behind a jagged edge of fear. As she looked around at her family, each member a testament to the resilience that had kept them together through years of hardship, she couldn't help but wonder if this night would be the one that changed everything. The clock struck midnight, a solemn toll that echoed through the halls, and as the first drops of rain began to pelt the windows, a shiver ran down Eliza's spine. Little did she know, the storm that was about to unfold would not only leave their lives in ruins but would also etch their names into the annals of infamy as the Watts family murders. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town nestled between towering cliffs and the relentless pounding of the ocean waves, the Watts family had always been the embodiment of tranquility and harmony. The sun-kissed streets were filled with the laughter of children playing, and the warm, salty breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine from the garden of the Watts' sprawling estate. But on a crisp autumn evening, as the golden hues of twilight painted the sky, a shadow fell over the idyllic community. The gentle hum of the town was shattered by the sound of a car screeching to a halt, and the eerie silence that followed was soon pierced by the shrill cry of a woman. The Watts family, once a beacon of domestic bliss, became the unwilling focal point of a harrowing mystery that would unravel the very fabric of their lives. As the townsfolk gathered, whispers of the past and secrets long buried began to surface, and the Watts family was forced to confront the dark undercurrents that had been lurking beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect existence. In the heart of a once tranquil coastal town, the Watts family lived in a sprawling mansion that seemed to breathe the wealth and power of its inhabitants. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the estate's sprawling gardens, where the scent of blooming roses mingled with the salty sea air. Inside, the family gathered for dinner, a ritual as old as the house itself. Mrs. Watts, a woman of regal bearing and piercing blue eyes, presided over the table. Her husband, Mr. Watts, a man of immense influence, sat beside her. Their 3 children, Sarah, a poised and ambitious young woman, Tom, a charming and successful lawyer, and Emily, a sweet and artistic soul, were seated around them. Laughter and the clinking of silverware filled the room, a warm and inviting atmosphere that belied the storm brewing just beneath the surface. As the evening wore on, a sudden silence fell over the table, and a shadow of dread crept into the hearts of each family member. In the quiet, Mrs. Watts' voice broke the silence, her words echoing through the room like a death knell. "There's been a tragedy, my dears. Someone has been watching us, watching our every move." The air thickened with tension, and the Watts family knew their lives had changed forever, for they were about to uncover a dark secret that would shatter the very foundation of their world and unravel the tapestry of their lives, thread by thread. In the heart of the sun-drenched suburbs of Los Angeles, where the hum of the city seemed but a distant whisper, the Watts family had thrived for generations, their name etched into the annals of local lore. The Watts mansion, a sprawling, ivy-clad behemoth, had been the family's sanctuary, a fortress of opulence and privilege. Yet, as the golden summer sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the sprawling property, a darkness was brewing that would forever change the course of their lives. The night was young, and the stars above seemed to mock the impending storm, but beneath the mansion's grand facade, the shadows were growing long, and the whispers of the past were rising to claim their victims. The family patriarch, a man of immense wealth and influence, had recently returned from a long absence, and with him came a storm of secrets and a trail of death that would leave the Watts mansion shrouded in a miasma of mystery and dread. As the moon rose higher, casting a pale, ghostly light over the estate, the first chilling breath of the Watts family murders began to take its toll, unraveling the fabric of their lives and threatening to tear apart the very foundation of their world. In the shadowed alleys of a city long forgotten by the sun, the Watts family had thrived for generations, their name etched into the very fabric of the neighborhood like a dark, ominous tattoo. The patriarch, Harold Watts, ruled with an iron fist, his imposing figure a constant reminder of the power he wielded over the lives of those around him. His children, a brood of mischievous and ambitious souls, each sought to carve their own path in the world, but none could escape the long, dark shadow cast by their father's legacy. As the city slowly succumbed to the encroaching night, whispers of strange occurrences began to swirl through the air, tales of eerie apparitions and unexplained phenomena that seemed to follow the Watts family wherever they went. It was in the dead of night, when the moon hung low and the stars were few, that the first whispers of dread began to take root. For on that fateful evening, the Watts family would face a horror that would shatter their world and leave an indelible mark on the very soul of the city itself. In the quaint, picturesque town of Willowbrook, where the golden sun dipped lazily below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the cobblestone streets, the Watts family lived a life that seemed untouched by the shadows of the world beyond their quaint home. With its white picket fence, lush garden, and the comforting hum of laughter echoing through the air, the Watts house was the epitome of idyllic domesticity. But as the moon climbed higher into the sky, painting the night sky with hues of indigo and silver, something sinister was brewing in the very heart of this sanctuary. One fateful evening, as the townsfolk settled into their beds, a series of chilling screams shattered the silence, sending a shiver down the spines of even the bravest residents. In the darkness, amidst the haunting cries, the Watts family's world was forever altered, and the sleepy town of Willowbrook would never be the same. As the authorities arrived, the nightmarish truth unfurled, revealing a horror that had been brewing beneath the surface for years, a horror that would leave an indelible mark on the very fabric of their lives. In the hushed, mist-enshrouded town of Eldridge, nestled between the towering, ancient mountains that whispered tales of yore, the Watts family resided in a quaint, ivy-covered cottage that seemed to blend seamlessly into the tapestry of time. It was a family known for their warm smiles, hearty laughter, and the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals that filled the cozy kitchen. But on the somber evening of the silver moon, as the last of the daylight gave way to the encroaching night, the serenity of Eldridge was shattered when a series of chilling events unfolded, casting a long, dark shadow over the once idyllic community. The first to meet an untimely demise was the patriarch, Thomas Watts, a man of unwavering integrity and a heart as vast as the endless skies. Found slumped in his favorite armchair, the cause of death a mystery wrapped in a shroud of intrigue. His wife, Elizabeth, discovered him moments later, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, as the silence of the house seemed to press in on her, suffocating her with an eerie, oppressive weight. That same night, the children, Sarah, aged 12, and James, 10, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a trail of fear and the faintest whispers of footsteps echoing through the silent halls. The townsfolk, once bound by the comforting familiarity of their shared existence, now found themselves prey to a gnawing unease that gnawed at the edges of their sanity. As the days turned into weeks, The once tranquil town was consumed by a whirlwind of speculation, rumors, and fear, each more chilling than the last. The authorities, grappling with a case that defied logic and reason, were baffled and desperate for answers. But amidst the chaos, a single clue emerged, a peculiar, intricate pattern etched into the floorboards of the Watts home, a pattern that seemed to speak of ancient rituals and forbidden secrets. Little did anyone know, the Watts family murders were just the prologue to a dark, twisted tale that would unravel the very fabric of Eldridge, forcing its residents to confront the darkness that lay just beneath the surface of their peaceful lives. In the heart of a quaint coastal town where the salty breeze whispered secrets of the sea, the Watts family had long been a beacon of community harmony. Their sprawling estate, nestled between towering pines and a gentle lapping shore, was a sanctuary of laughter and love. But as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, casting a fiery glow across the tranquil bay, a shadow fell over the idyllic facade. One crisp autumn evening, as the family gathered around the hearth, a series of chilling events unfolded that would shatter the town's serene facade, leaving behind a tapestry of tragedy and mystery. The air grew thick with tension as whispers of the Watts family murders began to circulate, casting a long, dark shadow over the once peaceful town. The night was young, but the fate of the Watts family was about to take a harrowing turn, and the answers they sought would be hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to delve into the heart of darkness. In the sleepy town of Willow Creek, where the whispering pines and the babbling brook created a symphony of tranquility, the Watts family had always been the epitome of domestic bliss. The sun-kissed facade of their sprawling colonial home, nestled at the crest of a verdant hill, belied the dark undercurrents that swirled beneath its picture-perfect exterior. It was a summer evening, the air thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant hum of cicadas, when the idyllic facade shattered into 1,000 shards of horror. As the golden rays of sunset painted the sky in hues of crimson and orange, the Watts family was about to embark on a night from which none would ever return. The town's residents, accustomed to the gentle hum of their lives, were about to be thrust into the maelstrom of a crime that would echo through the corridors of time and shatter the innocence of their small community. The police sirens, a cacophony of urgency, pierced the stillness, heralding the arrival of detectives and forensic teams, their presence a stark contrast to the serene backdrop of Willow Creek. The once tranquil town was now a labyrinth of investigation and speculation, as the Watts family's murders became the chilling centerpiece of a mystery that would consume the nation's attention for years to come. The sun hung heavy and indifferent over the sleepy town of Willow Creek, casting a sickly yellow glow upon the streets below. In the heart of this tranquil community, the Watts family had lived in harmony for generations, their name a symbol of prosperity and respectability. However, as twilight descended, the shadows cast by the towering trees in the nearby forest whispered tales of a darkness that lay hidden beneath the surface of the idyllic facade. That night, as the townsfolk tucked themselves into bed, the Watts home became a place of horror, a crucible of dread where the bonds of family were tested and broken. The sound of shattering glass shattered the silence, piercing the night air with a scream that echoed through the quiet streets, a siren's call to the unknown. As dawn broke, the once proud Watts mansion stood like a haunting mausoleum, a grim reminder that even the safest places can be shattered by the insidious tendrils of evil. In the heart of a sun-drenched coastal town, the Watts family lived a life that seemed as ordinary as the tide that lapped at their beachfront property. Their days were filled with the gentle rustle of waves, the laughter of children, and the soft clink of glasses as they enjoyed the sunset from their spacious deck. But beneath the surface of this idyllic facade, a dark storm was brewing, one that would shatter the tranquility of their seaside haven. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the tranquil waters, the family gathered around the fireplace, unaware that their lives were about to be irrevocably altered. It was on this fateful evening that the first chilling whispers of dread began to weave their way through the air, a prelude to the terrifying events that would unfold in the days to come. The townsfolk, once content to share tales of the Watts family's prosperity, now whispered about the eerie silence that had settled over their home, a silence that seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 unspoken secrets. The once vibrant community was now shrouded in mystery, and as the days passed, the whispers grew louder, the secrets more sinister, and the fate of the Watts family hung in the balance like a delicate thread, ready to snap at any moment. In the shadowy corners of a sleepy coastal town nestled between the towering cliffs and the restless sea, the Watts family had always been a beacon of tranquility, their home a sanctuary of laughter and warmth. The old, weathered cottage stood on the edge of the cliff, its windows aglow with the soft, flickering glow of candlelight on moonless nights. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the tranquil waters, a storm of darkness began to brew within the walls of the Watts' abode. It was a storm that would leave no one untouched, a tempest of terror that would shatter the very foundation of their peaceful existence. The townsfolk whispered of the Watts family, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination, for it was said that the night the murders occurred, the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel, and the line between the living and the dead blurred into a chilling, indistinguishable fog. The story of the Watts family murders was one that would echo through the ages, a chilling testament to the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk in the most unsuspecting places. In the hushed town of Willow Creek, where the whispering pines whispered tales of yore, the Watts family lived in a grand estate shrouded in the mists of mystery. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the sprawling property, and as twilight enveloped the landscape, the eerie silence was punctuated by the distant howl of a lone wolf. Inside, the Watts mansion stood as a beacon of wealth and opulence, its grandiose halls echoing with the laughter of children and the clinking of crystal glasses. But beneath the gilded surface, a dark undercurrent swirled, threatening to shatter the illusion of a perfect family. As the moon climbed higher, a shiver of dread crept through the veins of the townsfolk, for the Watts family harbored a secret so sinister that it could unravel the very fabric of their community. One fateful night, as the clock struck midnight, the tranquility of Willow Creek was shattered by a cacophony of screams that would echo through the ages, heralding the beginning of a horror that would forever change the fate of the Watts dynasty. In the hushed, fog-enshrouded town of Willow Creek, where the whispering pines and the babbling brook seemed to hold secrets too dark to be spoken aloud, the Watts family had always been a beacon of normalcy, a picture-perfect trio of a doting father, a nurturing mother, and their two adoring children. Their quaint bungalow, nestled at the end of a winding, overgrown path, was a sanctuary, a place where laughter and the scent of freshly baked cookies filled the air. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the town, a chilling silence descended upon Willow Creek, and with it, a darkness that would shatter the family's serene existence forever. It was a night when the moon hung low, and the stars seemed to weep, for the Watts family's idyllic world was about to be shattered by a horror that would echo through the ages, a tragedy that would leave the entire town in a state of perpetual dread and disbelief. The night of the murders began with a sudden, piercing scream that sliced through the stillness, a sound so haunting that it seemed to echo from the very bowels of the earth. And as the townsfolk stumbled out of their beds, their hearts pounding with fear, they discovered the unimaginable, a scene of carnage that would forever etch itself into the collective memory of Willow Creek. In the heart of the sun-baked expanse of Los Angeles, where the neon lights of Hollywood flickered like a chorus of siren songs, the Watts neighborhood was a shadowed tapestry of lives woven together by the harsh threads of poverty and hope. The Watts family, a brood of 8 siblings, lived in a modest, weathered bungalow on the edge of the neighborhood, their days marked by the relentless hum of the city and the quiet dreams that whispered through the cracks of their reality. The night of the murders was like a black storm that descended upon their lives, unannounced and relentless, shattering the fragile calm of their world. As dawn approached, the Watts bungalow stood as a silent witness to the horror that unfolded within its walls, each window a testament to the shattered dreams of a family torn apart by a mystery that would echo through the annals of Los Angeles history, a mystery that would consume the city, haunting the dreams of the living and the resting places of the dead. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town nestled between the cliffs and the relentless pounding of the Atlantic waves, the Watts family lived in a sprawling Victorian mansion that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the ocean. The sun-kissed streets were filled with the laughter of children and the clink of fishing boats, but the mansion at the end of Maplewood Lane was a silent sentinel, a place where shadows lingered and secrets whispered through the walls. It was a place where the past clung fiercely to the present, and the future was a specter that loomed over the heads of the Watts family like a dark cloud. The matriarch, Mrs. Evelyn Watts, a woman of towering intellect and formidable presence, ruled the roost with an iron fist, her children and grandchildren cowed by her unyielding gaze and the weight of her expectations. But as the summer sun baked the earth and the days grew longer, a chill began to creep into the bones of the mansion, for whispers of strange occurrences had begun to filter through the town, and soon the Watts family would be forced to confront the darkness that had been hiding in plain sight, a darkness that would shatter their lives and shroud the town in a maelstrom of fear and mystery. In the eerie gloom of a moonless night, the Watts family mansion loomed like a sinister specter above the sleepy town of Willow Creek. The grand estate, once a beacon of wealth and prosperity, had long since fallen into disrepair, its once opulent gardens now overgrown with weeds and wildflowers. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint scent of decay, a testament to the tragic events that had unfolded within its walls years ago. The family, once a tight-knit unit, had been shattered by a series of heinous murders that left the town in shock and the police baffled. The local legend spoke of a vengeful spirit haunting the mansion, seeking retribution for the brutal deaths. And now, as the long-forgotten story resurfaced, a new wave of terror began to grip Willow Creek. Detective Clara Hayes, a seasoned investigator with a knack for uncovering the darkest truths, found herself drawn to the case, determined to unravel the chilling mystery and bring peace to the tormented souls of the Watts family. As she delved deeper into the chilling past, she discovered a web of deceit, betrayal, and a terrifying revelation that would challenge everything she thought she knew about the world and the supernatural. In the eerie silence of the small coastal town of Willow Creek, nestled between towering pines and the relentless roar of the ocean, the Watts family lived a life shrouded in mystery and whispers of prosperity. The Watts mansion, a majestic Victorian behemoth, stood like a sentinel along the cliffside, its windows glowing with an unsettling luminescence at night. It was said that the mansion was built on the ancient burial ground of a Native American tribe, cursed with an evil spirit that haunted the halls. The family, known for their vast wealth and eccentricities, had always been the subject of whispered speculations and rumors. The patriarch, Edward Watts, a reclusive tycoon, had made a fortune in the tech industry, while his wife, Isabella, was a socialite known for her opulent parties and questionable morals. Their children, the twins, Lily and Lucas, were the epitome of wealth and beauty, their every move scrutinized by the local press. It was on a chilling evening during the height of summer that the town's tranquility was shattered when the Watts mansion became the scene of a macabre tragedy. The police arrived to find the once gleaming mansion cloaked in darkness, its windows shattered, and the air thick with the scent of fear. Inside, the bodies of Edward and Isabella lay lifeless, their expressions twisted in terror, while Lily and Lucas were nowhere to be found. The town was thrown into a frenzy, and the Watts family's secrets began to unravel, revealing a web of deceit, greed, and a malevolent force that seemed to lurk just beyond the shadows of the mansion's grand staircase. As the investigation unfolded, the townspeople learned that the Wattses had been harboring dark secrets, ones that could shake the very foundation of their seemingly perfect life. With each passing hour, the truth became clearer, and the curse of the ancient burial ground seemed to reach out, ensnaring the living and drawing them into a nightmarish world of unspeakable horrors. The small town of Harmony Valley was as peaceful as a meadow after rain, where the gentle hum of nature and the friendly chime of local shops formed the soothing backdrop of daily life. The Watts family had been an integral part of this idyllic scene, their sprawling estate nestled on the edge of the town, a place where secrets and laughter mingled like a well-loved stew. Their grand old mansion, a masterpiece of Victorian architecture, had stood there for generations, a symbol of the Watts' unspoken power and influence. It was there, beneath the heavy, ivy-clad walls, that the chilling whispers began. One crisp autumn evening, as the setting sun cast long shadows through the golden leaves, a silent terror unfurled within the heart of the Watts family. It started with the gentle sound of shattering glass, a sound so out of place in this serene abode that it seemed an eerie echo from another dimension. But the sound of breaking glass was soon followed by the frantic screams of terror, and as the moon began to rise, casting a silver glow through the windows, the Watts mansion transformed into a macabre stage, a canvas of horror that no one dared to paint. The first victim, an unsuspecting maid named Evelyn, stumbled into the master bedroom, where she discovered the lifeless form of her employer, Mr. Watts, his face twisted in a silent plea as three figures cloaked in shadows advanced toward her. Her screams cut through the night, a desperate symphony that seemed to beckon the darkness itself. Yet it was not only Evelyn who would pay the ultimate price that night. Her fellow employees, Mrs. Harper and the loyal butler, Mr. Thompson, were all soon to meet their fates within the sanctity of their home. As the dawn approached, the townspeople of Harmony Valley awakened to the horrifying reality of the Watts family murders, their peaceful world now marred by the stain of such heinous violence. The investigation would uncover a complex tapestry of lies and betrayal, unraveling a web of intrigue that had been Chinese letter, the heart of the Watts estate for years. But no matter how far the truth was pursued, the legacy of the Watts family had been forever tarnished by the sinister specter that now haunted the very bones of their mansion. In the heart of the bustling city of Nightshade, where the neon lights flickered like the souls of the lost, the Watts family resided in a sprawling mansion shrouded in ivy and mystery. It was a place where secrets whispered through the corridors, and the air was thick with the scent of old money and forgotten histories. The Wattses, a lineage of reclusive tycoons, were a family bound by blood and fortune, their opulence on display for all to envy or loathe. But beneath the sheen of elegance and the towering silhouette of their estate, a dark storm brewed, one that would soon shatter the carefully constructed facade of their lives. It was a storm born from greed, betrayal, and a web of lies so intricate that it seemed woven by the very hands of fate itself. As night descended, the Watts mansion, once a beacon of power and prosperity, would become a place of unspeakable horror, a crucible where lives were snuffed out like candles in the wind, and the true nature of their family's legacy would be etched in the annals of infamy. In the hushed, sun-drenched town of Willow Creek, where the whispering leaves of ancient elms whispered tales of old, the Watts family was a beacon of normalcy, a tight-knit trio whose laughter echoed through the verdant gardens, and whose warm smiles were as familiar as the rolling hills that cradled their modest abode. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, melancholic shadows, a chilling silence fell over the once peaceful streets. For in the dead of night, when the world was cloaked in darkness, a series of events would unfold that would shatter the tranquility of Willow Creek and leave an indelible mark on the souls of its inhabitants. The night of the murders began with a sudden, bone-chilling scream that echoed through the night, a sound so piercing it seemed to slice through the very fabric of reality. And as the townsfolk stirred from their slumber, they discovered the Watts family, their lives cruelly snuffed out, leaving behind a sea of sorrow and a mystery that would consume the hearts and minds of the entire community for years to come. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where the hum of city life blended seamlessly with the rustle of secrets, the Watts family lived a life of opulence and whispers. The grand estate, perched atop a hill, was a testament to their wealth and influence, its iron gates adorned with intricate carvings of mythical beasts that seemed to guard the entrance from prying eyes. Inside, the mansion was a maze of opulent rooms, each more luxurious than the last, with crystal chandeliers casting a sparkling dance of light upon marble floors. The Wattses were known far and wide as the embodiment of success and power, their names etched into the annals of history as architects of the city's rise. Yet, beneath the surface of this polished facade, dark currents of deceit and corruption swirled, waiting to be uncovered. As the moon climbed higher in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the property, the family's idyllic world began to shatter when a series of harrowing events unfolded, each more chilling than the last, and the true extent of the Watts family's dark secrets began to surface, a tapestry of horror that would forever change the fabric of the city's reputation. In the hushed, fog-draped town of Shadow Falls, the Watts family had been the epitome of tranquility, their sprawling Victorian mansion a beacon of comfort and stability amidst the otherwise desolate landscape. It was the kind of place where secrets were whispered under moonlit windows and laughter echoed through the halls. But all that changed one stormy night, when a series of inexplicable events began to unravel the very fabric of their lives. As the first fat raindrops began to pelt the old oak tree outside, Mrs. Watts, a woman of gentle demeanor and a warm smile, found her beloved husband, Mr. Watts, slumped unconscious in the parlor, a knife clutched in his hand, a trail of blood seeping onto the plush carpet beneath. In the weeks that followed, as the local police tried to piece together the mystery, a chilling pattern emerged. Their two children, Emily and Jonathan, were found missing, each with no trace, as if swallowed by the very earth they roamed. The townsfolk whispered of vengeful spirits and cursed the family name, but the Watts' closest confidant, their loyal housekeeper, Mabel, knew there was something more sinister at play. It was Mabel, a woman with eyes that seemed to pierce through the veils of deceit, who first noticed the strange occurrences, objects moving of their own volition, voices heard in the empty halls, and a sinister shadow lurking just outside the reach of the flickering candlelight. As the story of the Watts family murders unfolded, it became a harrowing tale of love, betrayal, and a relentless force that refused to be contained, leading Mabel on a perilous quest to uncover the truth and save what remained of the Watts legacy from eternal damnation. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town, where the salt-kissed air whispered secrets to the ancient cliffs, the Watts family resided in a grand, ivy-covered mansion that seemed to watch over the turbulent sea. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over the estate, as the family gathered for dinner in the grand dining room. The air was thick with the scent of roasted chicken and a hint of the ocean, mingling with the laughter of children and the soft murmurs of adults. But as the clinking of silverware grew louder, a sudden silence fell, and the warmth of the evening was shattered by a sound that could only be described as a thunderclap. The door to the room creaked open, and a shadowy figure stepped into the light, its eyes reflecting the crimson hue of the dying day. The Watts family, oblivious to the horror that awaited them, had no idea that their lives were about to be irrevocably altered in the most terrifying way possible. In the heart of a sleepy coastal town nestled between the whispering waves and the towering pines, the Watts family had always been known for their serene existence, a beacon of tranquility in a world that seemed to grow increasingly chaotic. The old Victorian mansion, perched atop a cliff overlooking the ocean, was a testament to their wealth and influence, its grandiose facade a facade that belied the darkness that would soon shroud their lives. It was a crisp autumn evening, the air tinged with the faint scent of salt and the promise of a storm to come, when the silence was shattered by a sound that no one could have predicted, the chilling scream of a woman in the dead of night. The townsfolk, who had long since grown accustomed to the gentle lull of the sea and the occasional rustle of the leaves, were jolted from their slumber, their eyes wide with fear as they rushed to the source of the terror. The mansion, once a place of warmth and laughter, now stood as a silent witness to a horror that no one could have imagined. The Watts family, once a symbol of prosperity and happiness, were now embroiled in a tragedy that would shake the very foundations of their community, as the secrets hidden within their walls were revealed in a manner that no one could have ever foreseen. In the quaint, sun-dappled town of Maplewood, where laughter echoed through the old oak trees and children played in the cobblestone streets, the Watts family was a beacon of normalcy. The three siblings, Emily, age 10, Jacob, 12, and Sarah, 8, were known for their bright smiles and endless curiosity. Their parents, Thomas and Eliza, were pillars of the community, respected doctors at the local hospital and cherished figures in Maplewood. But beneath the tranquil facade of the Watts home, a darkness was brewing, a storm that would shatter the town's serene calm. As the first rays of dawn began to filter through the curtains of the Watts' modest bungalow, the family awoke to a horror that would forever etch the town's memory. The morning began like any other, with the sound of coffee percolating and the soft murmur of the family's daily routine. But the day's tranquility was soon shattered by a sudden, piercing scream that echoed through the quiet neighborhood. The neighbors, startled from their slumber, stumbled out of their houses, their eyes wide with shock and confusion. As they approached the Watts residence, they found the scene of a nightmare. Doors to the home were flung wide open, and the air was thick with the stench of death. The first thing they saw was the lifeless body of Thomas Watts, sprawled on the kitchen floor, his eyes wide with a look of terror. Beside him lay Eliza, her face twisted in pain, a pool of crimson blood seeping from a gaping wound in her chest. The children were nowhere to be seen, their whereabouts a chilling mystery. The police arrived within minutes, their blue lights casting an eerie glow over the horror that unfolded before them. Detective Clara Hayes, a seasoned investigator known for her sharp intuition, arrived on the scene and immediately took charge. She was a woman of few words, her face a mask of determination as she began the meticulous process of gathering evidence. The kitchen was a scene of chaos, with dishes shattered and blood-splattered walls. Clara's eyes darted from the floor to the ceiling, searching for any clues that might lead to the children's fate. As she worked, her thoughts were consumed by the chilling possibility that the murders were not random. Maplewood, a town that prided itself on its close-knit community, was now grappling with the fear that this could be the start of something far more sinister. The local newspapers ran headlines declaring the Watts family murders as the most tragic event in Maplewood's history, and the townspeople whispered in hushed tones, their eyes darting nervously between one another. The children, Emily, Jacob, and Sarah, had vanished without a trace, their disappearance as mysterious as their parents' deaths. As the investigation deepened, Clara Hayes and her team delved deeper into the lives of the Watts family, searching for any sign that might have predicted such a tragedy. The more they uncovered, the more they realized that the Watts' seemingly perfect life was a facade, shrouded in secrets and deception. The once tranquil town of Maplewood was now a sea of unease, with everyone looking over their shoulders, wondering when the next blow would strike. The Watts family murders were not just a local tragedy. They were a wake-up call to the hidden darkness that could lurk even in the most seemingly idyllic communities. And as Clara Hayes continued her relentless pursuit of the truth, she knew that the answers she sought could be the key to unlocking the door to a horror far worse than anyone could have imagined.